We're a little lightheaded here from the return to Miami of a Cuban powerhouse and legend, and also Mario Cristobal.
He handled that so much better than Manny Diaz.
So much better, so much less awkwardly. Manny Diaz, when we did that with Manny Diaz, it was clunky and it felt inauthentic. Mario, let his guard down because he hasn't done a lot of that in the press conference. He's a serious dude and works, he's got the whole Cuban work ethic, son of exiles thing where he is all about work and very serious. I have not seen him that loose before. I went to school with him and stuff. That was a loose Mario Cristobal that Pipo lured out.
Pipo is a lot, though. He was slightly familiar, or he was made aware that Pipo might pop up and make an appearance just because we'd done that in the past with a head coach. I sounded like a Manny Diaz apologist, but Manny Diaz didn't handle that great when we did it with Pipo, with good reason. Pipo's a lot.
Yes, it was aggressive. It was aggressive. Yes. And if you're not looking at the character and seeing how crazed he is and you're just on the phone, that could have gone sideways 1,000 different ways. But that was entertaining, and we're all hopped up on having enjoyed that. Apologies to the Miami fans who didn't get enough information from what it is that they wanted.
They don't care.
There.
But instead, you have a Gallo as your mascot now.
What more information do you need than, Mario Cristobal wants to say come mierda, but can't.
I am a little confused, though, on don't say come mierda, but do curse other ways. And then he went with caca. He went with the very delicate caca when talking about...
Caca always makes me laugh, by the way. Caca's objectively funny.
But it is a diluted form of mierda, and I prefer mierda.
No, but caca's funnier.
I wanted, speaking of things going wrong 1,000 different ways, Dugat, I wanted to ask you, in the context now of Antonio Brown reaching the phase of after you've written something with marketing and lawyers and whoever it is that helps you put together a plan after 2 days of silence for rebuttal, we've reached the portion of the Antonio Brown proceedings where he starts, where text messages are now getting released, and Alex Guerrero, the doctor who's not a doctor. And again, with Antonio Brown, this becomes a thing all the time with Antonio Brown. Some questions over how he's being paid and how he is paying people, rather, is what I should say. How he's paying people and whether he's not paying people. That is making an appearance. But let's talk for a second, Stugotz.
Okay.
About, in the context of, more quietly, what has happened with Calvin Ridley as it applies to Antonio Brown, because now Calvin Ridley appears to be done in Atlanta, and I have no idea. It's saying both sides, they want a fresh start, but I have no idea how much that has to do. Never mind with the mental illness component that Ridley has given voice to. I have no idea how much the parting of Atlanta with its number one receiver has to do with, hey, you weren't available to us. We needed you. Matt Ryan is out here crawling around on his face trying to get 3 yards at a time, as we're going to be inevitably 6 and 11 and not be able to get there. And you weren't available. And I want to talk more about the pressure that surrounds on get on the damn field. Whether you're Antonio Brown with distrust of doctors and coaches and authority figures, or whether you're Calvin Ridley, and what I've been telling you about this workplace being particularly ill-equipped for some of the things that might happen to the brain in that workplace. Now, again, I don't want to go down the path with you again. I'm sure you're tired of it. The hypothesizing about Burfict and what's wrong with his head and misbehavior and all the things that we've talked about with Antonio Brown. But what he wrote or what he had written for him. Let's get past all of the stuff that you bring to the baggage that assembles when talking about the diva wide receiver, okay? And we've been doing this. Randy Moss moons somebody in the end zone, and Joe Buck, not even moons, pantomime moons. And we've been doing this with the diva receiver forever, and this is the mutation At the end of diva receiver, all the evolutions, this workplace, selfishness at that position, and erratic behavior from somebody who at every turn feels like he is interested in himself and not the team. Eliminate all of it. The words that were put down by Antonio Brown's camp after 2 days to think about it. Do you believe him?
Wow.
Do you believe a portion of him? Do you believe?
Yes, I believe a portion of him. I do. There's a part of me that says, why did it take 2 days to say something that seems fairly simple? Like, hey, I'm injured. Here's the proof. I had discussions. Like, say it right away. Say it after the game. So I guess I'm skeptical, Dan, because of that, because it took him 48 hours to come up with what I think we all just assumed, that Antonio Brown said he was injured and Bruce Arians was having nothing to do with it. I
don't feel like we all assumed anything. I don't think we assumed anything positive for Antonio Brown. I think that more than most athletes in the history of sports, when that happens and you're like, why is that happening? Antonio Brown is happening. Like, right. I don't think a lot of people were assuming, oh, there must be a reason for that.
If there was a reason, I think most people assumed that it was because Antonio Brown was injured and there was some sort of conversation and Arians wanted him to go back into the game. If people believed Antonio Brown. I do believe him. I believe Antonio Brown, Dan. I do. And he has receipts. I mean, he's showing text message conversations with him and Bruce Arians. So I happen to believe Antonio Brown
so
here.
When you say believe, the accusations were that this sideline interaction between Bruce Arians and Antonio Brown had a lot to do with the ankle injury. That's chronicled. We always believe that Antonio Brown had an ankle injury. He missed time because of the ankle injury. The question is, did that come up in that moment? Antonio Brown went on to say that Bruce Arians cartoonishly slashed his throat and cut him on the sideline.
Arians slashed his own throat with his finger and pantomimed it with his finger. Didn't do it with
go back in. Yeah. Antonio says no. He says you're done and slashes his throat.
And Antonio Brown makes for a bad martyr, and I do believe aspects of his story. And let me say, I'm a fan of Bruce Arians' coaching and like the results that you see on the field. But read about Bruce Arians. It kind of seems like a jerk. I wouldn't want to work for him.
He's no nonsense.
No, he's plenty of nonsense because he's done stuff to players like fake cut a player in front of the entire team in his past in Arizona, or make a big stink because someone parked in his parking spot. I don't necessarily like this man. I think he's a fantastic coach, and I also think Antonio Brown's a fantastic player. I also don't like him. So I think that there are aspects here, but it's like I have to side with any of them. I could see that Bruce Arians put himself out there, did the embarrassing thing of saying, I'm all in on what's best for the team, and he accepted this BS fake vaccine card. And I could see him in that moment being like, that's one drop too many, you're out of here. That's it. Like, when I say go in, you just go in. Don't give me this BS.
Does the detail actually matter of whether he did the gesture with the neck? I feel like we dissected that. Like, it's a big difference.
There's got to be footage of that because, like, there's a trained camera on a coach the entire time during one of these.
You feel like we're focused on the wrong thing?
That's one of those Stugatz things where it's like, is that too much detail? It makes me feel like it's a lie. Like, he did it with his the slash through his neck.
No, that to me, it suggests that he's possibly telling the truth there because he's giving you such great detail.
Such a Stugatz detail. If we're done with Antonio Brown for a second, because you started this with Calvin Ridley, and I think part of my pushback with you in particular, Dan, earlier this week is I like having a mental health discussion. I think part of this is a mental health discussion, but I think having this as a first and foremost mental health discussion further stigmatizes the discussion about mental health. I think there are a lot of people that hide their own mental health condition because of stuff like the reaction to Antonio Brown. You see that guy? Well, that guy is crazy. He acts like that because he is crazy. And we code things, when in reality, mental health looks a lot more like Calvin Ridley. Where did this come from? Where is there news surrounding this? When is he coming back? What is this designation that we put on him? That's a mental health discussion when you don't have all the answers. And I think for people to feel comfortable in revealing their own issues, you need to actually elevate the discussion around Calvin Ridley and kind of turn down some of the rhetoric around Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown does no favor to the people who are wrestling with mental illness or trying to talk about mental illness by not allowing you the degrees of all of the darkness that can surround this before you get to the clown outburst, okay? But because the clown outburst and the fame of the clown has been brought to our attention and does not have a lot of precedent, let's move it from the mental health stuff, which we could have had a conversation about that with Antonio Brown at any point in the last 3 years, and just talk about what the health of the mental. And let's talk about what happens to mental health in that sport when you're at the precipice of trust and leadership and important player. And now it's very easy for everyone to get along when needs and results align. It's harder when people have disparate paths. So when you arrive at the crossroads of, coach, I'm too hurt to play, and coach responding to that with, get out of here, I'm done with you. If what Antonio Brown is saying is true, do you realize that there are 2 people there who have had an outburst? Because cutting a player on the sideline does not happen a whole lot. And if Antonio Brown is telling the truth on, he told me to leave, then
yeah, 2 people had an outburst, but one of them took his shirt off, did jumping jacks in the end zone. Bruce Arians did not. But it doesn't make it, Dan, to your point, I guess, Antonio Brown could have handled it better. But you're right. Arians essentially did the same thing as Antonio Brown.
But I would just ask you to examine independent, right? Get rid of the baggage and just examine hey, which action is worse? Which action? The one that got in trouble, or the power that says, hey, you're playing even if you're hurt? Like, one of them's the accepted action. And what I'm telling you,
in a vacuum. Like removing like all of the track record hurts this situation.
I know. I'm asking you to
hurts.
I'm asking you to get rid of everything and just look at the words that were written on what happened, and if it's true.
Right.
I don't know if it's true, and I know that we got to jump over a million hurdles before we get to if it's true. But if what he's writing is true, I'm asking you to examine that as lovers of this sport. And I'm asking you to put a human being, because this letter was crafted carefully, Stugotz. It had a lot of stuff in it. The word caged is not there by accident. Like, we've got to eliminate the baggage, the race discussion, the power dynamics. Just make it about your telling your coach and leader, and the one with the power, that you know your body better than he does, and you know the screaming pain, and you want to be extended the benefit of the doubt of, coach, you know I work hard at this, right? 6th round pick. I'm pretty good at what I do. You know I take care of my body. Like, I couldn't get to here. Yeah, it wasn't just I arrived here and I was really good at this. 1,000 different things had to happen for me to know my body well enough and take care of my body well enough. And I'm telling you, I can't play. And now the pressure from everywhere except, Stugotz, inside your own head. And maybe even there, given the culture of football, get out there no matter what. A guy who's got a high pain threshold is telling you, I can't. And the answer is, you better.
It's hard to remove all of that, but since you're asking us to remove all of that, yeah, if it played out that way and Antonio Brown is telling the truth, it's a terrible job by Bruce Arians, and I'm wondering what happens to Bruce Arians if that is indeed true.
But you can do
nothing will happen to him.
But you could do terrible job by Bruce Arians, and what I'm telling you is the entire construct of the system backs Bruce Arians until that is out in the open and it can't be unseen. But everything before that, right? And you're not willing to believe it so anyway because of who the messenger is delivering it, and it's always going to be a flawed messenger delivering it, because no one is welcome to tell that kind of truth to power in that sport, because everybody's like, get your ass on the field, man. Like, just get your ass on the field no matter what. The training in that sport, the brainwashing in that sport, it's different than everything you've ever seen in your life when it comes to what those people are doing on Sunday, what they're choosing to do, and the lengths they have to go in order to get there. And I'm just asking the audience, I know you're tired of this subject, and you're probably damn tired of me talking about it all week. But I'm telling you to look at just the culture that births that outburst. And what I would tell you is that sport is not good for anyone's mental health. all that surrounds that sport, the pressure on all of it is a challenge to the mental health of the strongest of the mentally strong.
Absolutely. Calvin Ridley is actually a really good example of it, because to the outside, what possible issue could you have? Because everything's going right for you. Like, it came as a shock. No one saw any of the signs before he decided he wasn't going to go to England, and then he tried to give it a go, actually caught a touchdown against the Miami Dolphins, and then never to be heard or seen from again. And it's a super complicated thing, as is the Tampa Bay thing. You extend Antonio Brown the benefit of the doubt, and when you actually apply the track record and the context, you could see where Bruce Arians is like, you're out of the benefit of the doubt.
But, Mike, I'm not actually asking.
Well, Arians didn't want him in the first place, so it almost seems like he was looking for any excuse just to let him go.
Even with all the context, I think Bruce Arians, who's been a bit of a jerk about how he's answered questions, specifically to the media.
The coach is allowed to be, though, Mike. The coach winner is allowed to be a jerk. The results.
I mean, clearly he's got away with it. He actually had, like, I didn't know the pivot was actually on the table to just be aggressive with the media when the AB fake vaccination card happened, because he was backing Antonio Brown. And part of this is Bruce Arians was embarrassed publicly by Antonio Brown because he said, look, we submitted it, it got cleared, it's a non-story. And then you didn't get an ounce of apology from Bruce Arians afterward. I don't know if he was carrying over anger that he had directed to Antonio Brown to the media. I would like to hear him answer for it. Neither of these two people, in my mind, make for a good martyr. And I know there's a Kangol hat, and he's actually likable publicly, but I happen to not like Bruce Arians.
But I'm not even asking you to extend Antonio Brown a benefit of the doubt. The question I continue to ask everybody is, what do I have to put in front of you, if not all of these details, for a benefit of a doubt to be extended to this person? Because I'm not sure that because of the amount of baggage around this, Stugotz, I don't think people are looking at the thing, right? The kernel that births all of this over decades, Stugotz, of race relations, of power dynamics, of employees tired at work, but diva wide receivers wanting the freedom to express themselves a little more than most. And to me, the timing matters on the truth here, Stugotz. Which happened first in what order? Like, did Arians tell him, get the bleep out of here? I don't trust you anymore and I don't care about your pain? Like, did that happen? Is that good coaching? Is that good leadership? I'm not defending Antonio Brown. I'm just asking you, the thing that led to the thing that all of us are clucking about, like, do you want to look at it? Like the ground zero of what is happening there and how it could happen on any sideline if you put together a list of combustible ingredients like this.
We should also note that in that crafted statement, Antonio Brown finally opened the door to admitting that there are some other things at play with him. He said he's got stuff going on. He didn't actually label it the way that other people are comfortable labeling it. And I think we actually owe it to ourselves and our audience to educate ourselves on what the NFL makes available to its players with regards to mental health awareness. I follow Jalen Phillips on Instagram, and he sent out a photo from presumably the Dolphins headquarters. If the man is not right, the player is not right. I know that the NFL offers stuff, but not just taglines to their players. And I'd like to know what in the last 20 years has been made available to them.
You've asked me that before, and I'm talking about a mistrust that arrives before that. There are so many of these players that don't trust their doctors, organizational people. I'm talking about the pressure to get your ass back out there that they themselves, the warriors and the soldiers, sign up for. And when you say, Stugotz, like this part, right? Because I'm always frustrated by what fans think that the money does. And the money pays for the result. But the money, you know what the money is for? The money is for get your ass out there.
At all costs.
No matter what. The whole thing you hear about the biggest ability is availability. Get out there. And I do trust Antonio Brown to know his body.
Yes.
And I do trust Antonio Brown to play through pain.
And I do trust the pressure to actually be amplified in Tampa because of their injury situation. That's also a variable that changed surrounding Antonio Brown's injury.
But one of the problems here, guys, is that's the culture in the NFL. It's been that way forever. I'm not certain it's ever going to change. I hope it does change, but it's trickled down to the players. It's not just coaches. Because that pressure you're talking about is peer pressure as well. It's not just coaching pressure. It's Aaron Rodgers saying, hey, my foot's hurt. Get out there and play. If I can play, you can play.
I just keep asking the audience in various forms. Don't make it this human being that you don't like, or in the case of Mike Ryan, these human beings you don't like. Just make them human beings and put them in pain. And I'm asking you, what would you be willing to do with your pain? And how would you feel if you were in pain and you were telling your authority figure, the power broker, the guy who may be thinking, man, I've put myself out for you and you've embarrassed me time and time again. And now I can't count on you when my receivers are down and we're losing to the Jets on the road and we're trying to defend our title and we want to buy and we want home field advantage. And I can't count on you here either. But both of those guys are looking at that moment through their own prisms and they're arriving at different truths. They're looking at the same thing. And neither one of them trust each other. And that is a player breach. That's an athlete breach. You shouldn't behave that way. But that's also a leader breach if what he's saying is true, because you need that guy. And your job as a manager of people, whether you're a champion or not, is to get the best out of that guy. And what ended up happening is, if it's true what Antonio Brown is saying, it's not just Antonio Brown that let down Tom Brady. It's Bruce Arians.
Right. Because Brady wanted that guy. Brady went to bat for that guy. Brady needs that guy.
And I know we take sides and we'll pick a side and this guy's right and this guy's right and it's absolute. And I know you hear me as defending Antonio Brown, but I'm just defending people being human. Like, I'm just asking
hey,
you.
I'm hurt. Leave me alone.
I'm just asking you to look inside the uniform and ask yourself whether any of that is good for anybody's mental health.
The Kangol hat does help, though. Mike is right.
Yeah, he's a cartoonish. Yeah. Oh, he'll go on the pontoon and have a drink with you, but also he's kind of a dictator jerk coach from the old school that doesn't mind making examples out of players.
With championship pedigree that he did not have but championship pedigree.
He didn't have it before he got Brady. Brady wants Antonio Brown.
Until a year ago. Bruce Arians didn't become champion, respected Bruce Arians outside of the circle that he was in. And if you don't think that stuff can go to people's head on I know best, when you've arrived at 70 years old, formed, and now you've finally gotten the results of, hey, I just won a championship. You can bury people in that power, and you could be tempted to misuse that power on occasion, especially if the media, the fans, the locker room, the culture, and the pipeline that birthed you over 50 years rewards the way that you are. Get those people on the field to perform.
And remember Bruce Arians' climb. He was a very accomplished offensive mind, but he didn't get a head coaching opportunity until Pagano had his cancer issues. And then he became coach of the year. And with that title under him, he got an opportunity finally to be an NFL head coach after that. But if someone's in the NFL for that long and is an assistant and doesn't get the opportunity as a head coach, the NFL is kind of telling you something. All right. It's kind of like Brent Venables over at Oklahoma. Like, what's this guy? Like, what is happening here that this guy isn't a head coach just yet? And in some cases, like Eric Bieniemy, it's racism.